very warm welcome to AbhiAWAAZ, the voice of now, an initiative of Abhinandan Educational and Welfare Society. I am Abhay Singh Rawat, and it is a privilege to moderate today's webinar on improving girls and women through education for inclusive Viksit Bharat. AbhiAWAAZ, an initiative by Abhinandan Education and Welfare Society, we as a non-profit organization is working towards education, women empowerment, youth development, and social inclusion. We work closely with undeserved communities to create meaningful and long-term impact to education and community initiatives. And this webinar, AbhiAWAAZ, is an extension of that vision, a warm, cafe-style conversation space where stories, experiences, and ideas come together to inspire meaningful dialogue and community connection. So just grab your coffee, settle in comfortably, and feel free to share your thoughts and reflections throughout the session. Because here, every conversation matters and every voice has the power to create an impact. So we are starting from the introductions. So first,
Yeah,
Dr. Priyank Sharma.
we can ask Priyank to introduce him.
I'm sorry, I was a bit late.
That's
Good evening,
fine.
everyone.
Absolutely. Good evening.
Okay, where do I begin? I have been in this space of education for quite some time now. I started out as an engineer and then kind of drifted. Um, I first went on to do social work, and then I worked with the grassroots for some time. Then I thought, okay, let me get into education. Then I did my MPhil and PhD in education. After that, I worked with different organizations in this space. I have worked with international as well as national organizations in learning science research, edtech, education technology, and teacher education. Mostly, I'm into research. So in this currently as a assistant professor as International Teachers University, I teach research and guide students on research. Um, I've been on the board of some of the grassroots organizations. I have on Cheetah India and Collab. I mentor organizations and individuals in this space to see how we can take impact to the last mile. I think a lot of what is happening in this space, doesn't reach appropriately to the last mile. So that has been the focus. How do we create spaces which empower people in their own context? And I think that is why this conversation is really important because we are trying to not just look at solutions from somewhere at the top, but also see how meaning how what kind of meaning we can create for people at the grassroots. Thank you.
Excellent. So welcome to AbhiAWAAZ Cafe. This is absolutely, as Abhi mentioned, that it is absolutely an informal way of, you know, walking together, talking together, understanding our work better. And if somewhere we can synthesize our work and we can make a way ahead, like in case of Manjula and Adil, they are not from Delhi. How about you, Priyanka? Are you from Delhi?
Yeah, I'm based in Delhi.
So, of course, we will meet in person. But I was just trying to tell them that 1% there's a chance that, in our entire career, we might not even meet each other physically. But work orientation should be in such a capacity that, we should understand our work, talk about each other's work at every platform, understand and maybe create a way where we can do something for the social society or the social or any social cause where we come together with which is education. Manjula, this is your time now. Mike is yours. Please reintroduce yourself and, in fact, introduce yourself properly. What do you do? Where do you belong? What has been your journey? And guide us through what exactly you are doing presently.
Thank you, Manisha. Good evening, friends. I'm Manisha. I am very privileged that I'm able to speak about my own experiences around education because that's the thematic area which we are going to discuss today. I have a 3.5 decades experience in the field of human rights. I'm a student of social work from MS University, Baroda. So after doing my social work education, I started working at the grassroots, mainly focusing on underprivileged communities, undeserved communities, those who have been excluded because of their caste, because of their other social identities. So I worked in Gujarat. I started with an organization called Navsurjan, and later on, I became the director of the organization. It is one of the largest Dalit rights organization in India, and through that organization, we focused a lot on discrimination against children from the Dalit communities in the schools, in the primary schools, and also in the secondary schools. And we focused on how to ensure that they get quality education. There is no discrimination in the school. So we did a lot of advocacy, and I also handled a lot of cases of discrimination and also violence against children as well in Gujarat. I became a lawyer as well later on. Uh, so there have been times where we have focused on specific elements around education, quality education, around Dalit children forced to clean toilets in the government-run schools or classrooms. And I have also done advocacy with the UNICEF. Uh, Through my work, I have addressed the issue of inclusion of caste in the UN agenda since 2000 during the World Conference Against Racism. I've also spoken at other international platforms in European Parliament as well. Uh, while doing my work, I also focused on ensuring that the young people, specifically who are into higher education, and who face discrimination because of their identities, and specifically women from that community, young girls, wherever they feel excluded, we are trying to help them. And there are some important cases which I've handled in Gujarat as well and in other parts of the country. Uh, my own work is also around research and advocacy. So I believe that advocacy cannot happen without doing a very intensive research. And usually I am involved in ground level research. And I believe that that's where the empowerment starts. And I believe that the education, which is very specifically, we talk about education as a means for empowerment. But I think the element which I would like to focus today also would be how do we sustain good education for those who have been excluded because of their social identities, and in particular what the areas which I have to been given is focusing more on women and girls. And I think that's something which is very crucial. And I do know that being a person from the community, I also come from a Dalit community, and I've experienced discrimination from my childhood, even in the higher education, and that has made me what I am today. And I believe that you have to channelize your strength, your pain into your something where you the outcome is positive and which can also create social transformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjula. Thank you so much. That was overwhelming. And I'm, on behalf of everything, I'm so sorry that you had to go through. But, understanding uh, your path has actually illuminated this beautiful thought in my mind that, you know, behind your good work, behind your success, it was your pain. So it never let it go. And and I really feel that on groundwork, if you have to go through something, that's very, very bad because uh, you know, half of the agendas are political agendas, where I think each person or one of us would not have a domain to comment. And we here at this AbhiAWAAZ Cafe have got together for a very soft, informal, uh, you know, conversation. And let's take this left time to actually, carve this path for the society. So, Adil, now it's your turn. So, please guide us through. And uh, some poet, Kumar Vishwas. So he was talking at some event. You know how he is,
Mhm.
and he said that Gujarat se ek manga tha, do aa gaye. So, so that was in some other context, and but we are fortunate to have you both from this beautiful state. For me, I will talk about myself after Adil finishes. But for me, I've been raised in a cosmopolitan culture in Delhi. For me, states were never barrier, and culture was never barrier. And for me, nothing was there. I've never I'm not born with any barrier bias in my mind, and I've lived such a life that I don't understand that this comes from some community or this comes from some different state. For me, human beings are human beings, and I love them. They are as it is, because बड़ी जिंदगी लग जाती है ये समझने में कि चेंज आप नहीं लाते हैं, चेंज दोनों तरफ से आता है, चेंज एक तरफ से कभी नहीं आता है. So over to you, Adil.
So thank you for the kind introduction. And just to introduce myself, I am just one another student, as still feel that I am a student because still I have somewhere I still have a frustration when things doesn't go right in education, when things uh, are not matching the like our aspirations, what our youth want, what our generation want. When we talk about policy making, when we talk about implementation, when we talk about initiatives, and the present stage of our higher education or the primary education where it is. So after putting so much of effort, like why it's not working, this was the frustration when I started working very initially. So as I told that I have kind of this pain and frustration towards the education, the conventional way of education. So I rather choose that, see if I can do something and like to, instead of just complaining about, then it is a nice way of dealing it. So like when I was 18-year-old, I just started my own startup in the education space only. So it was kind of this first principle thinking, like if we don't have a concept of school, if we don't have a concept of university of college, how do we educate our young kids? So with that idea, we just started something called an institution. We didn't name it just like that, but it started with the aspirations or of the students, like talking with them, and then we to draw our inspiration from Platonic academia, that how we can educate kids based on the conversation. Then we went on to Gurukul systems, and then how in this modern age, how we can like rethink about the Gurukuls, not in a way that it was there, but in a way that we need in 21st century. So around that thing, I was very young, very naive. I didn't knew anything else. And then I just thought about like if I want to have a certain impact uh, over the education, what path should I choose? And I had like many such doubts in my mind. And I know there are many young college students, university students who are here with us, and many will listen to this conversation later on. So with all those doubts, I just had a sleepless nights, and then I decided that I shall take some initiative. So initiative should to form an institution which educate the kids based on the perspective or the philosophy that I had, or rather to build a long-term sustainable thing which has a very large impact, was to build a policy. So I didn't knew anything about the policy. I didn't knew how the policy making space is, but I just thought and just bit of courage. I registered my Section 8 company as a policy research center. And then I just started up, and slowly and steadily we are learning the things. We are learning how to do the things. But it is that one courage that you will take uh, from your side and to form impact which you want to have. So all the young listeners that you have, that you might feel frustration towards any social issue, not just education. Education tends to be the center of all the social issues, but any social issue, if you want to have impact, have the courage, like join some organization who is creating impact, and try to lead a net positive life which will create impact. So that's the my introduction and welcome message for all of you listeners who is here. Over to you,
Thank
Manish.
you, Adil. Thank you so much. This was really great to know about you and your work. And as you rightly said, that, carve your own path, never get
Mm,
frustrated.
yeah.
And I think there's a lot of work to do before we all of us go to sleep. So I'll just small way, I will introduce myself and then Abhay will take over. My name is Manisha Bhatia. I lead this organization called Abhinandan Educational and Welfare Society. It has been a long journey of work at Abhinandan. It has been almost 17 years, yes. I belong to Delhi, and Abhinandan was a core, sincerely, in fact, it was core sincerity which was born in my household. Uh, Simplicity of one simple household where one had uh, the basic introduction to create some change through education had so much we had seen in our lives, our older generation, my generation, or could be my children now. So, the basic philosophy was that your platform should be education. उसके बाद आप जो मर्जी कीजिए. सो और बदलाव आते हुए भी देखा जिंदगी में जो 100% ग्रोथ एजुकेशन से आती है वो बाकी सब प्रोफेशंस में थोड़ी सी शॉर्ट लिव्ड है. आप कम से कम पढ़े लिखे हैं या आपके अंदर वो क्षमता है तो आप अपनी जिंदगी को के दायरों को इतना बड़ा कर सकते हैं कि आप अच्छा और बुरा सोच सकें. एंड बहुत सारे सवाल थे अभिनंदन के जन्म से पहले जो आज तक पूरे नहीं हुए हैं. एंड द सिंसियर एफर्ट एंड सिंसियर वर्क is happening here at this platform. So we have divided our work into 4 verticals, and we primarily work for the children and women. For children, we do remedial education. For women, we do complete empowerment. And third vertical is environment. And fourth vertical is the paramilitary forces. We work for their mental health. And we are supported by different corporates on our Safe Haven projects, which we have created for children. And we do this kind of work with at-risk children. Children found at Nizamuddin railway station was the first pilot project we started, and children found at railway stations and construction sites where we operate our centers. So over to you, Abhay. And Abhay will start with some basic questions, and then we can take it uh, in a direction where we can have more meaningful conversation.
Also, as we have said, that it's quite a cafe type discussion, but still we have different segments that we're going to talk about. Our first segment is in education and gender equality. So, like in India, female literacy has risen from 8.86% in 1951 to over 74.6%, according to Periodic Labor Force Survey, reflecting the transformation power of education for women across generations. Yet, many barriers are still there. So that's what we're gonna talk about. So the first question is for Dr. Priyank Sharma. You've explored inclusive and alternate learning spaces across India. So what educational practices, according to you, can truly empower girls at the grassroots level?
Thank you, Abhay. The first paper I ever wrote was in this space, gender and education. And when we say the educational levels have increased, you will find um, that the education itself is only in certain spaces. So for example, there are certain streams in which you will see most girls enrolling. There are certain spaces, courses in which girls enroll. So we have pocketed the the way girls can even aspire for education, higher education particularly. And if I bring in more factors like caste and others, then it becomes even more difficult. Talking about alternative spaces and this kind of spaces I have seen, I've worked with alternative spaces. My PhD was in an alternative space. Um, you honestly, it's not really about how do I put it? It's not really about having a fancy space per se, but if you can, let children be, and children are children, you let them come and explore these spaces. I'll give an example. There is this educational space called Povitham. It's very widely renowned across, even outside India, even people in India wouldn't know. It's in Tamil Nadu. It's in the forest of Tamil Nadu. There, if you see children, irrespective of the gender, they stay there and they play there, and you will find true meaning of inclusive education there. A lot of times you would, even international schools will claim to be inclusive, but not really. But there, not just with respect to gender, but even disabilities, I could see people coming and being together. And one of the core aspects, a lot of time people feel that, teachers or leaderships and, you will see argument that they have to do X, Y, Z. Of course, their role is there. But if you just allow students to take their ownership, if you just allow students to see how they can bring in other children and participate in those activities. For example, in that class, there was a child who had some intellectual disability, and that child, so teacher used to teach in the class, and then students used to take that ownership instead of thinking that, oh, I have a competition with another student and I am better. They used to take that ownership and, talk to the child, make him or her understand, figure out what is happening. And so it became their responsibility to bring that child in the classroom. So when we think of inclusive spaces, whether we want to take the lens of gender, disabilities, or anything, I think what we need to figure out is we don't take that agency away from children and let them figure out, give them that space where they can collaborate, where they can come together, where they feel equal. And that itself, and then they will do it. They don't need it's us who are creating those biases, us who are making sure that those biases are ingrained in them, and they are not able to enjoy that space for the equality that is already there. You don't have to do anything much more than we doing XYZ. If we let students be and them figure out things, don't put those biases inside there, I think they thrive. And I've seen these spaces thriving in many, many, many ways because children come in, they explore. Nobody is there to tell them that you are a girl or you are this one, so you can only do this. You are limited by this. But rather than that, they explore, they thrive, they talk to each other and build those inclusive spaces. So my 2 cent is let children be those agents. Let them drive this. Let them become equal participant of the spaces that you are creating.
Beautiful. Very well said, Priyank. I will take this back from here. The children are children and let them be. So Osho also said that, that your inner child, let your inner child be, not let it die. Don't give the child the biases of gender, clothes, looks. It's so beautiful, it's so deep. If we can work on this philosophy, how simple the life would be.
True. I'll just add one more point. See, it's not it's not magical, You can see in any classroom when children enters and let's say there's a result day. I give the example a lot. That teacher enters and announces in the class this child is first, this child is second. But in the same class, somebody has failed. So what was that child doing that somebody else was failing? It is because we have created in their mind that I am at first position, I am at second position, and I no, it's not like first child who has come first thinking, oh, this, why am I not helping this child? How come he or she is getting less marks? They are not taking the ownership. Suddenly becomes teacher's responsibility in most of the spaces. A teacher
Yeah.
has to think. They have to create. but rather than teacher has to allow them, let them create. They will make sure that all of us come together, all of us teach each other, all of us figure out ways. If somebody is not able to understand through words, create pictures. If they take that ownership, it becomes more of an equal space than teacher thinking that they have to take that burden, which I'm sure they have a role, but not the way it should be.
Excellent. Thank you so much for this point of view. Yes, please go ahead, Abhi.
Okay. So that was a pretty good answer. I can relate this to that Three Idiots type concept because that's the line they have said in that movie too. So the next question is for Manjula ji. Through your grassroots work, what are the biggest challenges marginalized girls and women still face in accessing education?
Hmm. Thank you for the question, Abhay. You know, I have traveled across the state of Gujarat, and we have made few documentaries around children and education. And there was one young girl whom we met. Her name is Sangeeta. Now she is a grown-up woman. But you know what? What she touched my heart was when she said that her dream was to become a doctor or a nurse, and what has come in her hand is a broom instead of a pen or something to draw or something. But unfortunately, she could not study. So I think for me, the challenge which I see while working closely at the grassroots is that the educational system in our country, as what Priyank also said, that there is a lot of stigma attached to your social identities. Where do you belong? What class do you belong? What caste do you belong? What religion do you belong? Uh, what is your parent doing? So there are a lot of students who might be first generation learners, right? And their parents may not have been going to. The literacy rate is, as we know, at the people specifically who are marginalized is very low. And specifically with young girls and women, because most of the women with whom I get connected, who aspire that their daughters, they continue their education, they get good education. So the barriers which they see starting is from the primary schools, where basic element around proper sanitation facility. I think that is this is, I'm talking about the government run schools. They're not, each government school run school doesn't have proper sanitation facilities. So there are times when these girls, if when they start their periods, how will they be able to ensure that they can uh, like use the washrooms and all that. So I think that is something, I would say, one of the crucial aspect. It cut across communities. It doesn't talk about one particular community, but we also have to know that who are the ones who go to the government run schools. They are from the social backgrounds who are marginalized because of the social identities. Those who are well off, they would not go to their schools, they will go to a private school, right? So the government run schools need a lot of infrastructural support, but the quality of the teachers also matters, right? The teachers, if they don't do give quality education, value education, I would say that education doesn't mean that we just give them how to read and write, but it also about that, are you respected by your teachers, right? Are you given proper space in the school? Are you, as what Priyank was saying, like there are students who come from the marginalized communities and they get scholarships, right? Government run scholarships. So they are asked to stand up in the classroom and to say, okay, ऐसी education कौन hai, right? उनकी scholarship. So somewhere you are also dividing the students in terms of your identity, and you are somewhere you create a kind of a shame in their minds that, okay, there's some problem with me when I'm asked to sit separately from the midday meal program. I mean the student who come from that community, specifically the girls as well. The girls from these communities, from the socially excluded communities, they come with a lot of baggages of intersectional inequality, right? And also the discrimination they might be facing in their own homes. And I think that the schools give them a space to also maybe live a like understand the other part of the reality, which is little better than what they experience in their homes. And I would say that that expectation most of the girls they have. But the point is that if you don't train the teachers properly, I would say the responsibility is of the teachers. I feel that, because each student have their own context, their own social background, and that's what the parents responsibility comes. But when the child comes to the school, and how do they you treat a girl from someone who is from a religious minority, or from another caste background, which is treated not as equal, what Priyank talked about, that the student should feel as equal when they go to the school. I think that element the teacher has to follow. I think there should be some kind of discipline is not like I come on time and all that is important, but there is much beyond that experience of whether I'm treated as equal or not. So because there are girl students specifically from remote areas, or who are from tribal communities or Dalit communities or other religious minorities, many times they stop going to the schools in the secondary education when it comes to, because they don't feel safe also. So there have been cases which I have handled of young girls who have like the POXO cases, where they are face sexual offenses against them, and there are sometimes also teachers who have committed those crimes. So I think there need to be a lot of control over the not only education but the environment, whether the child is protected or not. Because if you go to a government run school, there are chances that you don't feel safe. I just want to tell you, there was one case in Bihar recently. This is, I think, in this year only. This There was this Muslim girl. She was, I think, 11 years old. She suddenly she I don't know from where she got the kerosene. This is in Patna, and she went to the toilet of the school, and she poured the kerosene and she burnt herself.
Oh.
I saw her video of her, like, before she died. And this is not the first, like, this is something which was shocking for me. This is the first ever time I've seen this kind of incident in the school. And uh, I don't know whether any action has happened, because, I train a lot of women activists across the country. So through my another organization, which I founded 8 years back, called Wave Foundation. So one of my students, she shared me the information. I think there are a lot of checks and balances need to be placed into these schools, because ultimately India is a rural economy, and we do know that India has a lot of people who live below poverty line, which means that these schools need to be monitored properly. There's need, because uh, we talk about human development index, we talk about happiness index and all that. So how do we see a child who goes to the school, there's a smile on her face, right? I'm talking about the girls, because that's very important. How do you teach, what do you teach? Because there's a textbook where you have to teach as per the textbook, but there's a lot of things you can teach when you're talking about value based education as a teacher in the school. I would like to stop here. Yeah, thank you.
Manjula, thank you so much for your thoughts. Thoughts you shared right now with us. So three things I think I could derive from what you said was the availability of education first, and then comes the discrimination, which you mentioned is huge, with at length and breadth, and of course the quality. And I absolutely agree with you on all these points. And there is huge lot of work to be done. And uh, as you mentioned, that you're already training the group of, you're mentoring a group of women, those who are into teaching, and you're doing tremendous work. But I have few questions here where I would like to also tell you a little bit about Abhinandan's work. The kind of children we work with, there are children of these migrant laborers who start from, their journey from one state to the other, and uh, they decide one day that the child is already, crossed the age of going to school, and my child should also go to school and uh, be a part of the education system, how much whatever the child has the capacity to acquire. So the gap says that uh, the child will go to the school and sit in the age appropriate classroom where Abhinandan starts working. Because, a lot of children, because of this age appropriate issue, those who are not even acquainted to basic ABC or the numericals, they go to a classroom where almost addition and BODMAS is introduced. So, this remedial education part is done at the Abhinandan centers where these children find solace, they can take their heart out, we can talk about their medical issues, we can talk about their psychological issues, we can talk about the issues going on at their home. We try and help them at all the levels, and we try and educate them to a level that they get acquainted to the mainstream schooling. But tell me that my question, which I've been asking for years to almost a lot of people on a lot of platforms, that today I was reading a caption saying that Sikkim has announced as a fully literate state, which I don't agree anymore because Google data varies a lot. And when will we call this country like a fully literate country? What is the reason? Because in my career of 17 to 18 years of my work, I've seen government working in the fields of education. I've seen people like you doing tremendous work in the fields of education. I have seen so many institutions, corporates holding their social responsibilities, doing their bit for, especially for people, those who are working or are employed at their plant sites, and especially for the children of those employees. So there is a huge communication from the government side. The corporates are doing their initiatives, institutions are doing their bit, institutions like ours are doing our bit. Where is the gap? Adil, can you comment first on this question?
Yeah, for sure. So, as like we know that all the stakeholders, the government, like the social sector, we all are doing something, but still there's a change that we have to break, right? So generation by generation, who is stopping girls to go to school? Like after they reach to certain grade, maybe 8 or 10 or maybe 12, who is the person like the family members who is not allowing them to study further, and why those are the people who has that kind of perception that the girls shall not study more in certain communities. Why it is so, and how do we break that chain? This is something that we need to address. The government is doing a lot. The social sector, the CSR, the corporate sector, everybody is doing something for the students to study. We are creating the opportunities, we are creating the facilities, we are having teachers are ready, everything is ready, and still why those girls, why there is this gap that girls are not showing up in the schools? And it is just because of the perception that their parents are holding, their family members are holding. How do we break that? And that's this role that the community leaders plays a very important role. How do we have a conversation with the community leaders? So there's a lot of things, but in my knowledge, there's no such initiative where we can influence the local community leaders who has a greater influence on the families. If we can influence the community leaders who can influence the family, then automatically the perception will start changing and we can break this chain. So we have to address, we have to acknowledge the communities where those families are, and then we have to go one by one. We have to take one-on-one conversation with the family members. So it starts from a very basic level. If there is a migrant population, they don't have any formal established community, but there will be someone whom their parents will listen, whom they will respect. So if you want to change their perception, first you have to build that respect. Once you have that respect, and then you can enforce your ideas, which has a good intent. And then we have to go to tier 3, tier 2 towns and villages, where you find certain caste based communities, and actually they are interested, the leaders are interested in education. They want to do anything, but when it comes to their own home, they want their own uh, girls from their own home to stop studying after 12th or maybe 10th. And what is their thinking, what is their perception? So I will just share one a very small incident. So in like a tier 3 town, where there was a particular community and girl wanted to study, so she was not allowed to study after 10. So she came to the community leaders, and community leader happened to have that perception that okay, no, girls, if she's all together came here. So the community went to the father and asked that why you are not letting her study. The shocking result was that father told that if she studies, she will demand to do a good job, and if she does a job, and then she will demand to get married outside of her caste, and therefore I don't want her to be empowered. So those are the questions that we as an outsider from the from that community cannot answer. But someone who is the part of the community can explain the values, the where they belong, and soon we can bridge that gap that we have from decades and decades.
Thank you, Adil. Very well said that we have to inculcate that respect into the community and then take it further. Priyank, s- Priyank.
Yeah.
So, in short, how to bridge this gap of education for a country like India?
Come again, which gap?
My question is that so many people, including the government, is doing so much for the community. Still, we can't call this country a completely or a fully literate country. So, how to bridge the gap? Your suggestion. Your suggestion has to be the right experiences, what you have taken from the ground.
Okay. Let me take you all a bit in the past. I think what we have to understand is first, why is the state of education like this? Right? Because if you look at the history, like ancient history, you realize that in India, teachers were respected as gurus who are, next to God. And today we know that in this profession of teaching, nobody wants to come in, and then teachers hardly get any respect. Why that history is relevant is because we will understand why the state of education is so pitiful in our country, and we don't find teaching as a aspiring career. Why this is important? Because when we think about people creating that change, we need those teachers in the classroom. We need those people. Even see, when we say government is doing a lot, or organize, there are a lot of organizations which are doing a lot, but we still need to figure out ways in which right people reach the classroom and create those changes inside the classroom, rather than probably even people like me sitting here and then talking about it. So I'll quickly try to outline this. See, after independence, we were teachers were actually brought in as formal, in as a formal occupation. Before that, teachers were paid in not in cash, they were paid in kind. Like whoever used to grow, let's say I grow bajra, I'll pay in gajra or wheat or rice for that matter. When teachers were brought in the formal education system, when the Britishers said that they are already paid in kind, so we will pay very less amount. So they were paid as low as salary as 5 rupees, 10 rupees. And since they were paid in cash, they were not, people started not paying them in kind because thinking that they're already paid by the government. And from there, you will realize that slowly teaching as a profession started having a very low status. Uh, People didn't want to become teachers because it was not paid at all. It was hardly anything that was paid. Now, what happened? Because there were government jobs available, it became a low-hanging fruit. So a lot of people who never wanted to be, let's say, teachers, but wanted a government job, got into this. And we see a history of scams happening in this space. Like it went on for 2 3 decades, especially of a particular state in India, where rampantly we were having teachers being infiltrated, like taking up government jobs because these were low hanging fruits. Now, if you, I'm talking about, let alone, I know teachers in some of the remote parts, rural India, trying their best, but I'm also aware of teachers who just sit and don't do anything. Like one teacher in Delhi, I'm talking about in Delhi government school. I went and met him and I asked him about what is happening, and we were just having conversation. He told me point blank that I take 90,000 salary, but do I teach for 90,000? No. Why? Because these children don't deserve it. So that is the mindset they've come in with, that, children don't deserve it. Why should they study? They come from such background. They don't need education per se. They don't deserve that kind of education. So if we really want to create that change in the grassroots, we have to start talking about having this conversation, where we create teaching as an aspirational space, where we bring in people who want to be in classrooms, not just for a year or two, but for a longer period of time, and then then take it from there. It can't be that, um, because I know civil societies and organizations are doing a lot, but a lot of times an organization comes in, does some good work, and then leaves. It doesn't create, the system remains that way. The
Yeah.
system doesn't change, and the system, if we have thinking about changing the system from the ground up, then we have to create these spaces. Otherwise, we can only depend on few organizations who are doing good work, and then when they leave, it is all back the same. Nobody is caring. The government jobs, there are para teachers, like in a lot of schools, teachers don't even go. There is somebody else who will go and mark the attendance. It's
It's
that
such a
bad.
vicious circle, Priyank.
Yeah,
The
it's very strict.
organizations are dependent on the CSR checks, teachers are dependent on the commercial salaries. So everything has become so commercial. Even the emotion of the student has become very commercial.
Yeah.
From this thought, I will take the mic to Manjula. And Manjula, now you let us know that how should we bridge the gap according to your experience? Something in short, so that we can offer formal questions also to you. This is the emotion which is coming out of our work.
Manisha, the first thing is whether we are talking about just literacy or we are talking about education, because there are two different things.
Yes,
Because literacy doesn't mean that I am educated. So I
agreed.
think, yeah, so I think that is something where we have to look into when we're talking about school curriculums and the textbooks. And I think that is which for me it's not. So I think there is we have to bridge this gap. And we also, because I don't have time to respond on this. Just a small thing is that there are some laws which are there for ensuring good education. One is the Right to Education Act. So looking at implementation of this act, which came up in 2005, how does this really empower children? From 25% is for those who are socially excluded communities. The most important element is about the mindset of the teachers. And I think that's where I think teachers need to be groomed. It's not just they are literate as B.Ed or or primary teachers. We have it in Gujarat, PTC training and all that for primary education. I think it's more than education for them. It is how they are trained after they are enrolled as teachers also. So there needs to be investment into their training. Uh, I would stop from, and I don't know if I have time, just want to say that uh, how do we use the technology? Because, small basic things which are there, like I visited some schools and I was like in Bihar, another school in Patna, that there is a nice school, a nice library, but they have locked the library. And I don't know why. You know, for me, the library was the most important place in my when I was in the primary school. That why have locked the library? I don't know why they have done it. So I just want to stop here. That things is where you have to change the mindset of the teachers
So
of how
very
to teach. Yeah.
beautifully you have carved a path from literacy to education. And overall, what I feel from the synthesis of this conversation, and I feel that more than imparting education or making them educated or imparting even basic literacy to the students, I think we should work on the humanity of teachers first. As Priyank said, there is no commercial angle to it. As Adil said, that we need to impart respect in the community and we need to break that chain of I, me, myself. That it's a vicious circle which we have created over the years. And as Priyank took us back to the pre-independence era of making us realize that, that teachers were selfless. We need to have this selfless basic of imparting even basic literacy. And as Manjula said, as Adil said, that this is so beautiful. This profession has to again become very noble. Otherwise, tech will take it over. We are almost in an era where teachers are not required, will not be required anymore. So Abhay, please take over. My emotions are erupting and taking the conversation from structured conversation and questions to a very philosophical one.
Okay, ma'am. Also, I have a whole set of questions, but I will just continue this question as you all have mentioned about technology and digitally thing. So I just want to ask a common question from you all. How can we include, like, they are facing discrimination on different bases, on different grounds. And today, if you're not included in the digital world, you're quite out of the race right now. So how can we include that thing in the way to empower the girls at the grassroots level or at a bigger level? So that's the question. We can start from Adil.
Okay, so I would like to start with this phobia of AI, right? So as AI is taking all the things and like we all are quite serious to see like how AI will change the education and also how I feel that in a better way AI will change the education for sure. So there's a one basic question that we all needs to answer, like the people who use a calculator actually knows how to does how the calculation should be done, right? To speed our way we do use calculator, right? So the person who has never done or who has never used calculation doesn't use calculator. Likewise in the AI, as a technology is moving forward, there's a large language models. It can be anything like Gemini to ChatGPT or Claude or anything. The people who knows the craft, how to use that, right? Just to do the work in more efficient way or in more faster way, we are using that. But how it is changing our cognitive intelligence. So this is something that we all shall look forward. And then how it is accessible to all the communities, how it is accessible to the students, right? So I was just few days back, I was just checking out this report where lakhs and lakhs, even crores of rupees goes for digitization in CSR for the school. But how many schools actually gets the digital things? How many of the schools has digital assets? This is the question that we have to ask. And if there is a digital assets, does a teacher knows how to use it efficiently, right? And if the teachers has the accessibility, has this caliber to teach that how to use those digital products, right? Thus, the administration are allowing kids to have hands-on experience on the computer or the laptop. Because as Manjula rightly said, the libraries are locked down. So does the science laboratory and computer lab is also locked down. So what is the perception of academics? Is it limited to the few subject or they want to students to get some skills, and how they are seeing the technology, how their perception is seeing the technology. So see, if we are afraid from the technology, then technology is absolutely going to take over us. But if we are excited about our own future using the tech, then we will feel quite excited to use those technologies and move forward. So, is there any gender gap that we see in using tech or having that access to tech? I feel no, right? There is no such gap that we see. But maybe the accessibility to certain communities to those techie devices, or maybe the laptop, maybe the internet, is something that we have to see, and it's something that it is closing its gap. But largely we have to have this optimistic perspective towards the technology in education, and specifically to teachers who is teaching, who is giving the first introduction to technology to the students. They must be very optimistic about the future. Then we shall look forward to what education does to the, what the technology does to this AI and the education. Looking forward to this future.
That's quite a
Very-
nice answer.
Yeah,
Yes,
very
ma'am, you were saying.
well curated thought, Adil. Thank you so much. And as we have little less time left, can I request Abhay to have small questions now for our guests?
For sure, ma'am. Uh, let's start from, you have to answer in just some of the words, please. So, Manjula ma'am, so what does digital empowerment truly mean for a woman today? If you can answer in
Lib-
just some words.
Liberation, self-expression. Uh, yes, connecting with the world. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Well
pretty
said.
nice.
Yeah.
Next for Dr. Priyank Sharma. What leadership qualities should young girls develop from an early age? That's the
Not very good with the idea of few words. I don't know how to express that, but
just one leadership quality you think should have.
I see, to be able to communicate and manage, I think, and organize themselves is really important for a leader.
Mm,
There are, of course, you can go around and talk about creativity and innovation and strategy and all that. But again,
mm.
I realize I'm taking too many words, but yeah, that's it.
Okay. And the last one from Adil. So, as you are all working on the travel thing also, so what do you think that travel program you have can influence a girl to like explore the world? That's the question.
Being uncomfortable, right? And then you become comfortable being uncomfortable into your day-to-day life, and still raising your voice and still choosing the path that you want to travel.
Yeah, that's a pretty good answer.
Very well said, Adil. Thank you so very much, all of you, for this insightful conversation. Abhay, what are we left with? Are we left with few questions?
Oh no, ma'am, that's all. You just have to give the closing remarks.
Lovely. So we'll be taking back a huge lot of experience from our distinguished guests. There's a lot we could understand, gather in whatever small time we had. And Priyank, with you, we'll try and catch up for a physical meeting because you are in Delhi. Manjula and Adil, can we have like any of your schedule plans coming towards Delhi? Or we can exchange a note when Abhinandan's team would travel towards Ahmedabad. Though last financial year, we tried to work on a project with Akshay Patra, but it didn't get through. And I don't know how we'll break the barriers of the boundaries, but this beautiful digital world has already broken all the boundaries. It has no discrimination. It has no boundaries. It has it is just you use, and you how beneficially you use it is up to you. We are looking forward for more engagement with all three of you. Maybe we can work together on some project in the coming future. Thank you for being a part of this, and thank you for enlightening us with your great work, whatever you're doing. And please, I loved the sensitivity you had put in while explaining, uh, the impact which you want to create through your work, which uh, meaningful change which we want to get in our country. All of us have a common feeling in our heart of doing this good work for the needy, for the people, those who really need it. Maybe we can do something which creates a better impact on the grassroots in the coming future. Thank you so very much. You will be receiving uh, appreciation, a token of appreciation, a certificate of participation on the AbhiAWAAZ Cafe. And thank you so very much. So looking forward to see you very, very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vani.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.